When is the final discard with the narcissist? So many people ask this because they're wondering, how do I actually know that he's not coming back? How do I know that it's done, that it's over, that he's never coming back? And I need you to know something. There is no final discard with the narcissist. You're like, what? Wait a second. There's so much stuff on social media. Like, people say that there's a final discard. Hear me out. Just bear with me for a minute. Okay. Most people are looking for the end all be all that locks them in, saying, hey, they're safe and clear, that they never have to worry about this person again. With toxic people, and especially narcissists, typically that is never true. Like maybe a 1%. The people that don't come back and that you don't have to worry about. But I need you to understand that that's not up to the narcissist. So many people are abdicating their power and abdicating their authority by giving it to the narcissist in a victim state of still asking, when will it be the final discard and I can be free? So let's change the question. When will you actually ensure your freedom? By making sure it's the final discard. Because when you leave it up to the narcissist, you are still letting him be in control. He's already controlled you for so many years. Why are you still letting him control you at the end of the relationship? Many times it's because you're still addicted to the person. Maybe it's because you haven't healed and you haven't done the work on you to actually transform your life. And so as a result, if he came back into your life, you would still let him in. And so you're worried, you're scared. Like, how do I know he's actually gone? Because he keeps coming back in and manipulating me. If he keeps coming in and manipulating you and you keep letting him manipulate you after you've already learned about this, he's going to keep doing it. At this point, you're just a vending machine with no charge that the person comes into the room, presses the button and gets a soda. And every time he does that, he gets the exact soda he wants and it's free. So why would he not do it? You need to understand, narcissists think, hey, I'm entitled to you. You are mine. So as a result, until you actually set up new boundaries that make sure he knows that that's not the case and he doesn't have access to you, nothing's going to change. So many people are focused on the final discard. When is it going to happen? How do I know? The final discard is when you decide that it's the final discard. It's when you decide to stop playing a victim and letting him control you. It's when you decide to actually take back your power and say, hey, he's no longer going to have access to me. I'm no longer going to think about him. I'm no longer going to deal with him. He's no longer going to take up real estate in my mind. He's no longer going to be a part of my frame, of my life, of my story, because I'm moving forward to the person I'm called to be. The problem is you typically don't have boundaries and you typically don't know who you are. So as a result, you've been bumbling through life after the narcissist thinking, how do I put the pieces back together? Obsessed with him still. And oftentimes he walks back in, you're like, oh yes, thankfully he's changed, it's all better, please save me. And it's not, because it's back to hell again. It's just hell 2.0, because you've already been through hell the first time. Now it gets worse. It ramps up, the abuse gets worse, whatever, it keeps going. So you need to understand there's this piece back and forth that people struggle with of when is the final discard. Again, you need to hear this loud and clear. The final discard is when you decide that it's the final discard. It's when you decide that he's not going to have free control in your life anymore. It's when you decide that he's not going to be allowed or not able to even come back. Now, that's easier said than done. 100%. And I need you to understand this is what we walk people through on a day-to-day basis. Because until we help you change your mindset, you will always stay in the victim mode and let this guy back in. It's not up to him to come back in. It's up to you to set up the boundaries so that he can't. Oftentimes that means you need to block him. You need to ghost him. You need to go no contact. You need to make sure there's no way for him to have access to you. Now, you might be sitting here today and you're like, yeah, but every time I've tried that, I've gone back. Yes, because you haven't had the tools to be able to help you do this. You haven't had the system to actually change and rewire the mindset. So as a result, it's left you open to his hoovers. It's left you open to his manipulation over and over and over again. So if you're at that place right now and you're like, hey, I've tried this, but I feel addicted. I've gone back. I've let him back in multiple times. I'm not telling you in this moment to block him because it's probably not going to do you any good. At this point, you're going to continue the cycle and you're just going to beat yourself up for continuing going back. At this point, we need to talk and we need to actually work through, hey, let's build a plan for you to actually be free. Because if we can help you be free mentally and emotionally, then you can take that step to block, to ghost, to go no contact, and then it sticks. Because you've actually rewired the story you're believing. You're rewiring how you're showing up. You're able to show up differently. That's the difference that we're trying to bring people to, that we're trying to help people understand. Once we're able to do this, there is a unique piece that happens where people start to have the image of the narcissist that allows them back in, starts to disintegrate. It starts to become different. It starts to be illuminated with the actual truth of the situation. This is why we focus so much on the facts. What are the facts? What are the evidence? What was demonstrated? Because we have to bring you back to reality, not the confusing reality that the narcissist has left you in. But more often than not, you will be stuck thinking, when is this the final one? Will he actually leave? Will I actually be free? Stop giving your power to someone else. You're much stronger than that. You just don't realize it. You're much more capable than that. You just don't realize it. The women that we empower every single day to be able to move forward in their healing are equipped and empowered with the truth. So as a result, they know that that person doesn't define their worth. They know that their value isn't tied up in that person. They know that they can move forward in understanding that they actually have no ties to this person anymore because they've broken soul ties, they've broken trauma bonds, they've broken the intrusive thoughts, they've gotten rid of the rumination, they've eradicated the triggers, they've done all the hard work to actually stand in a place that says, hey, you no longer matter to me in that regard. Maybe you still matter as a person, maybe they don't even care, it doesn't matter. But they look at that person and they're like, hey, you no longer have a hold over me emotionally, mentally, emotionally, physically. And instead, they're able to actually walk past that person and not have all of these triggers come up because they're like, I've already dealt with this, and the person that I am now is different than the person I was with you. Like, the victim that I was with you is no longer here. That victim is gone. That version of me is completely dead. And as a result, I'm able to stand in my truth and continue to move forward, knowing who I am, the direction I'm going, the boundaries that I have set so that toxicity bounces off and you're able to continue into who you're called to be. The question is, are you going to continue to look at it from a victim mindset and say, hey, when is the final discard? Because I'm afraid he's going to come back, and start to move into an empowered state of saying, hey, I know who I am and he's not coming back. Regardless if he's at my door knocking, regardless if he texts me, regardless if all this happens, I'm going to set safeguards in place. I'm going to set boundaries that ensure that I liberate myself, because no one's coming to save you. He's not going to leave you alone. He's not going to fix himself and magically come back. The only person that can transform is you. Are you actually willing to do that today? If you are, go to rawmotivations.com/breakthrough. And I would love to be able to talk to you. Listen to the video there and see how I work with people one-on-one and develop plans for you to be free from toxic narcissistic abuse.